Why see it your way? Run the risk of knowing that our love may soon be gone. We can work it out. We can work it out. Think of what you're saying. You can get it wrong and still think that it's alright. Think of what I'm saying. We can work it out and get it straight or say goodnight. We can work it out. We can work it out. Life is very short and there's no time for fussing and fighting, my friends. Hey, I have always thought that it's a crime, so I will ask you once again. Hey, try to see things my way. Only time will tell if I am right or I am wrong. When you see it your way, there's a chance that we might fall apart before too long. We can work it out. We can work it out. Oh yeah, we can work it out. We can work it out. Hey, trust in my way. Only time will tell if I am right or I am wrong. Why see it your way? There's a chance that we may fall apart before too long. We can work it out. We can work it out. Think of what you're saying. You can get it wrong and still think that it's alright. Think of what I'm saying. We can work it out and say goodnight and say goodnight. We can work it out. We can work it out. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, we can work it out. Oh, yeah. Hey, 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 hey. We can work it out. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, hey, hey. We can work it out.
Thank you, House Band. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati. My name is Barbara Bonney. Leading our service today is Sarah Elizabeth Anderson from Concord, New Hampshire. She is an expert on restorative circles, which is a conflict management process grounded in deep, reflective listening. Restorative circles tends to preserve personal relationships and also generate mutual solutions. This weekend, Sarah Elizabeth concludes a busy 3-month schedule helping First Church ingrain restorative circles principles in our church culture that has too long tolerated conflict. She will be joined today by several members who will share what they have learned from restorative circles. As our service begins, let us recall our church mission as an urban community that welcomes all with love, supports learning and spiritual growth, and serves our wider community. We acknowledge that our church and our homes are located on the ancestral lands of the Adena, Hopewell, Miami, and Shawnee people. We continually work for justice, equality, and inclusion for everyone. We are glad you are here with us this morning, whether in person or virtually. During the service, you may hear mention of programs or other items of interest which may raise questions for you. If you would like to learn more about these events or ask questions about our community and our faith, please contact us at member-care@firstuu.com. In just a second, we will share on-site accessibility information. For those of you who are joining us virtually today, we invite you to take this moment to do whatever you need to be fully present with us at this hour. Now, for those of you who are joining us in person, please note there are listening devices in the back of the sanctuary, along with noise-canceling headphones and printed orders of service. Should you like something to occupy your hands during the service, we invite you to pull out your needlework or sketchbooks. There are also focus items in our VIP lounge in front of the sanctuary. If you find you need to leave the sanctuary at any point, know that you can still listen to this service from our lobby just outside the sanctuary doors. That is also where you will find our gendered restrooms. Gender-neutral restrooms can be found on the second floor. If you are watching remotely on YouTube, please join us for music and readings that will appear on your screen. You are also welcome to write comments in the chat box about elements of the service that inspire you. We begin our time together this morning by lighting our chalice, the chosen symbol of our faith. Our chalice lighters are the Mark Seeley family, including Ry Rendon, Marlo, Marin, Amber, and Stefan. Please join me in reading the words on the screen, written by Reverend Deborah Falk, a retired UU minister from Canada. We light this chalice, symbolic of the warmth of community and the brightness that love brings to the world, illuminating our search for justice and peace. Light, that force that nurtures all living things, here in our midst, in this flame, so tiny and so significant. Let us take a moment to recall our 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism. This morning, we're using the simplified version to remind us all of the basics. I have some helpers. Sure, yeah. And one more person. Let me get the first one. Each person is important.
Test. Oh, there we go. You want to start over?
1, each person is important.
Now we're going to do it again.
Okay. Vi kan göra det.
We're free to learn together.
4, all people need a voice. 5, oh, I said that wrong. 4, we search for what is true. 5, all people need a voice.
Build a fair and peaceful world.
7, we care for our earth.
Thank you. I invite you all to stand as you are willing and able to sing hymn number 354, We Laugh, We Cry, verses 1 and 4 only. This music was written by First Unitarian Church member Shirley Jackson Denham in 1980 to honor our church community on the occasion of our 150th birthday.
Something here to which we can belong.
the spirit of our church community and that Shelley sings about, please take a few moments to greet your nearby neighbors briefly. We know this is a really joyful part of the service. Please be seated.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for inviting me to your community. It's now time for our story for all ages. So I invite those young at heart. We're going to have a story shared by Meredith. If those of you would like to come and sit or snuggle into someone you love.
The Rabbit Listened by Corey Dorfield. One day, Taylor decided to build something. Something new. Something special. Something amazing. Taylor was so proud. But then, out of nowhere, things came crashing down. The chicken was the first to notice. Cluck, cluck. What a shame. I'm so sorry. Sorry this happened. Let's talk about it. Cluck, cluck. But Taylor didn't feel like talking, so the chicken left. Next came the bear. Grrr. How horrible. I bet you feel so angry. Let's shout about it. But Taylor didn't feel like shouting, so the bear left. The elephant knew just what to do. Trump-da. I can fix this. We just need to remember exactly the way things were. But Taylor didn't feel like remembering. So the elephant also left. One by one they came. The hyena. Let's laugh about it. the ostrich. Go! Let's hide and pretend nothing happened. The kangaroo. Tisk tisk, what a mess. Let's throw it all away. And the snake. Shh. Let's go knock down someone else's. But Taylor didn't feel like doing anything with anybody. So eventually, they all left until Taylor was alone. In the quiet, Taylor didn't even notice the rabbit. But it moved closer and closer until Taylor could feel its warm body. Together, they sat in silence until Taylor said, "Please stay with me." The rabbit listened. The rabbit listened as Taylor talked. The rabbit listened as Taylor shouted. The rabbit listened as Taylor remembered and laughed. The rabbit listened to Taylor's plans to hide, to throw everything away, to ruin things for someone else. Through it all, the rabbit never left. And when the time was right, the rabbit listened to Taylor's plan to rebuild again. "I can't wait," Taylor said. "It's going to be amazing." Sometimes hugs say more than words. I wonder, have you ever sat by someone's side and just listened as they went through a very difficult thing? Was that hard or easy?
Thank you, Meredith. Thank you, Meredith. So friends, what Taylor experienced may be true for us. What we need most when something happens that upsets our feelings is to have someone listen without telling us what we might be feeling or needing. When our feelings are hurt by someone says or does, it feels good to have this hurt understood by someone else. When we need something that's not provided, having someone understand that need can help us decide for ourselves what we wish to do. In the Restorative Circle's process, what we're learning is that the person speaking chooses someone else to reflect what they are meaning to say. A speaker lets the listener know that's what they wanted heard. Yes, no, or sort of. Until they're really fully heard. Feelings and needs, when they're understood by everyone together, we can then decide what to do next. Letting your friends know what you hear, what they mean to say, shows that you empathize with them.
Yeah. Oh, no. Each month, we designate our Sunday plate collection to benefit a local social service organization. Your donation today and for the rest of September will help support the work of Cincinnati Recycle and Reuse Hub. Please make checks payable to First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati with CRRH in the memo line. It is easy to give to First Church. You can text the word GIVE to 513-717-7373. If you have access to our Breeze member system, you may click Give Now, or you can give online at firstuu.com. You can also write a check to First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati and mail it to 536 Linton Street, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45219. If this is your first time with us, please let the virtual plate pass you by. Your presence is gift enough to our church. Thank you. We gratefully received the beautiful flowers this morning from Linda Miltner. She says, "The flowers this morning are for new beginnings, our daughter moving to a new house and the church moving to a new bright future."
So over the course of the last 3 months, we've been working on having some conversations that have been difficult to have. And I continued to say to the people that I was working with from your community, this isn't my sermon to give, although I was asked to speak. So I've invited those who wished to share with you today about their journey. So we're going to hear first from David Johnson, and then we'll hear from Karen, and I'm going to forget names, and then Gary and Barbara, Ramona, and then I will have a few words for you.
Good morning. I'm David Johnson. I completed a 6-week facilitator training program with Sarah Elizabeth and Restorative Circles, very similar to the one that has been going on all weekend, this weekend in the church. I also was a part of the Restorative Circle, focused on the congregational conflict that has harmed so many of us here in the church. Before I go too far, I want to say that I'm very pleased that so many of you, so many of us, have elected to become a part of the Restorative Circle experience. I do believe that it will be a key element in our healing our community and healing ourselves. Going back, for better or worse, I have always been in the center of this conflict since its inception. I was a member of the board and the social justice liaison to the social justice committee in 2019 when the board decided to balance the books with some of the social justice committee's discretionary fund. A huge disagreement. Probably not the best judgment. But from there the wars took off and they went on throughout my tenure on the board. I don't really want to go back through all of the details of that. And I'm pretty sure that you all don't want me to do it either. What I do want to talk about is all the mountains of words, spoken and written, that I shared, that I received, that almost buried me. And in fact, it did bury some of those who used to be with us and aren't today, sadly. I want to say about those words that they basically, most of them were never heard. They were never really listened to. They never really communicated. And the words that I got back over and over through email after email, in meeting after meeting, in rumor after rumor, I couldn't really hear them either. I didn't have the skills to listen. What responses I made almost always missed the mark. A very frustrating experience for me, for all of us. I believe that we are changing that today. I believe that Restorative Circles is going to help us learn to listen. I believe in my heart that we are turning the corner. I believe that we will rebuild our community. I believe that the skills of the Restorative Circles will prove to be critical in the maintenance of our covenant. I want to repeat what I just said to you. I believe that restorative circles will teach us to listen to our differences. I did not say that restorative circles is going to help us speak about our differences. We've always known how to speak, and we have talked at each other for year after year. What we haven't done well is listened to each other. I believe that listening to each other about our differences will change our culture here. Restorative Circles is teaching us how to do that. And I thank Sarah Elizabeth for sharing that skill with us, and the board for arranging it. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Karen Rohr, and I was also a member of that Restorative Circle. And this is what I took away. When we first walked in, that first Friday night, there was real tension in the room. All 18 or 19 or 20 of us had agreed to talk to each other for 9 hours. That's a long time. But we all knew this wasn't going to be easy. We weren't even sure we wanted to talk to each other. The procedure was simple. Each of us chose somebody we wanted to hear us. This required intensive listening. You couldn't be thinking about what you were going to say next. You couldn't be thinking about your rebuttal. You had to listen to them. You had to listen to their pain. And remember, we were all in pain. And we listened. And then when the speaker was done speaking, the listener would come back to them and say what they had heard. And sometimes the speaker said, yeah, that's what I meant to say. And sometimes the speaker said, no. And sometimes the speaker said, well, sorta. And sometimes Sarah Elizabeth would break in and say, no, you still haven't been heard. Is this what you wanted to have heard? And the emphasis was on we hearing other people, not what we were going to say. And when the speaker was finally heard, and the listener had finally got it, the listener would have a chance to be heard by the speaker. And the process was done over again. I don't know where I am. As time went on, more and more issues and pain were raised. And we started getting tired. We started saying, can we move on to a plan that we can heal? And Sarah Elizabeth kept saying, no, we're not ready. And as much as we had absorbed, and as much and as long as we sat in those uncomfortable seats, we all wanted to move on, and she kept saying no. And after 9 hours, we weren't done. And she asked us if we could all come for another weekend. And then the next weekend began, where we had left off, speaking, listening, reflecting, and responding. We were all tired. We wanted to move on. We were tired of hearing the same thing, slightly different issues, slightly different concerns, but really the same thing. And every time one of us would say, it's time to move on. We need to make a new start. We need to save our congregation. Sarah Elizabeth would say, no, not yet. We're not there yet. There's still pain in this room. We needed to put the past behind us, but we weren't done. And then there was a final, desperately painful speaker, a very, very dear friend of mine who is no longer part of this church. And she spoke, and then there was silence as we all absorbed her pain and each other's pain. And there was silence. I don't know, it felt like 5 minutes. It was probably 30 seconds. You know how those things are. And Sarah Elizabeth said, we're ready to move on. And we did. We had an hour and a half left, and that wasn't quite long enough. But we came together and made up a plan for this congregation and how we should move on. We wrote up 6 big pages that flanked that wall over there. And there was this feeling of, I wrote it down somewhere, camaraderie is the word I was looking for. There was a feeling of camaraderie that we had finally come together, that we all wanted to save our church, that we all cared. And when we got up, we hugged each other. I cannot tell you how sorry I am that this poison enveloped our church. If we had put this process in, maybe it could have saved us a lot of agony. Maybe. I think it would have helped, particularly over the last 2.5 to 3 years. I think it would have helped a lot. We need to stop sweeping problems under the rug. We need to start talking to each other, but more, we need to start listening to each other. We need to accept each other and ask and give forgiveness. You can't really give forgiveness if it hasn't been asked for. We need to deal with problems with honesty and love. Finally, I mourn the loss of my friends that I have lost here. I mourn the loss of the people who I didn't know who have left here. Please come back.
Interlude. Hafiz wrote, even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, you owe me. Look at what happens with a love like that. It lights the whole sky.
My name's Gary Gephardt, and I participated in the second phase of the Restorative Circle process. During the weekend of Restorative Circles, I found it to be an effective strategy in dealing with conflict. We spent a lot of time, as Karen talked about, talking with one person while the whole group was really listening. The person you were talking to directly then responded in to check to make sure that he or she understood what was being said, and that the person that was talking would clarify, or confirm. I found it not to be exactly easy. I tend to be thinking of what I want to say next instead of listening. This process really made you focus on listening. In addition, I like to focus on solutions and completing the task to accomplish the solution. In fact, on my little notes that I was making, 11:06, I'm done. Let's move on. I had to be more patient. We spent a lot of time talking about issues that have brought conflict to our church. It was good to get these things out and gain clarification on some of the issues. We went into this process with a couple questions. What would you like to know, and from whom? And what were you looking for when you chose to act? What came out was that most time when members of the board acted, we were looking what was best for the future of First Church. We all want what's best for our church, and we need to respect and honor those who are volunteering their time to support the church. We need to be careful in our interactions with each other. My mother used to say, and this was usually after an argument I had with one of my brothers, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. And we need to work on both of these things. We need to work on what we say and how we say it. In the end, we agreed to love each other, and we are at a new starting point with our differences behind us. We will ask those who left to come back, and we will support each other with love by following our principles. In addition, when individual members have hurt feelings, they will work those out with those involved to resolve the issues using the Restorative Circles process, including one of our trained facilitators from our congregation. I believe we had 25 attend this past weekend. First Church is at a critical point in our history. If conflict is in our DNA, we need to surgically remove it. The way to do this is to have a process in place to deal with conflict as it occurs, to come to a resolution that is in the best interest of First Church and in line with our principles. For First Church to have a viable future, we must change. It's time to move forward. Thank you.
I'm Barbara Bonney. I participated in a couple of the intros or demos, and I was an observer and note taker at one of the restorative circles. And this afternoon, I'm finishing up the facilitator training. I learned that we are capable of deep and respectful listening to each other, even those with whom we disagree. I learned that we each have a self we present that needs to save face. And when we can set aside those egos, we accept that we all make mistakes and can forgive ourselves and others while we hold each other accountable. I learned that together we can create a safe space for the vulnerability that binds us together.
Rumi says, "Yesterday I was clever. I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I'm changing myself."
For those of us who constantly check our assumptions, I requested to be last as the speaker. I am Ramona, a beautifully authentic Black woman worthy of deep connection, and more than good enough. The practice of restorative circles sanctions the expectation of lived experiences that we, or maybe in this case, I should say I, even though I don't believe in shooting on myself, I often choose to ignore and try to forget lived experience that cause pain and suffering due to conflict. The practice of restorative circles inspires and requires a commitment to practice our foundational principle, a principle worthy of adoption, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Restorative circles helped me to grow in my understanding of accepting conflict as positive and necessary turbulence on the path to be the change we want to see. What I want to see and what you may want to see can bring us into positive turbulence. And it can end with clarity as to what matters most to each me, individual, that make us, we, congregation. Through the restorative circles, we take individual responsibility for showing up, often in fear, trying to decide whether we're going to face everything and rise or forget everything and run. We step up to understand that all, and all means all, are welcome, not all behaviors. I give honor to the God of my understanding that led me to First Church. Malcolm X said 11 a.m. Sunday, in our case 10 a.m., Sunday is our most segregated hour. I am convinced, spiritually led to believe that it's due to a lack of practice and understanding of the process and courage. I happen to have my Purple Heart in my pocket too. I have my Purple Heart right here. Courage. Courage to practice restorative circles contributes to the segregation. Quoting Dr. Maya Angelou, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. Norman Lear recently shared some wisdom on his 100th birthday, sharing there are two small, little, may appear insignificant words to remember that he didn't understand until his 100th birthday. Over and next. With all due respect for the producer, Mr. Lear, of a couple of my favorite teaching TV shows, All in the Family and The Jeffersons, Mr. Lear, and somebody please let him know Ramona said this, miscounted. He said there were two important words. I heard three important words: over and next. First Church, I dare testify to say, the drama is over, and we are moving until the next drama. However, the next time will be different because we have been trained by one of the best, Sarah Elizabeth, in the process, and there's room for more to be trained. You can be trained anytime. The process of restorative circles will have us well prepared to participate in closing our eyes so we can see, opening our ears so we can hear, and expanding our hearts so that we choose love, as all are welcome, not all behaviors. Now, can we say yes? Oh, yes. My soul says yes. I say yes. Can't you say yes? Oh, yes. Love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Amen.
Yes, amen. This morning, yes. I'm so glad I said yes. This morning, I stand here in great gratitude for the time that I've experienced in your community. The people here are warm, welcoming, wise, compassionate, and complicated. You care deeply for one another, for this community, and for the community outside the walls of this church. Linnea reminded me that there are things that you all don't know, so I'm going to just briefly summarize the journey that I've been on with members of your community. We began with my conversations with a number of members around an issue of the board apologizing for Alan Mimi attending Joe Rolling's memorial service. The apology caused consternation and disruption in the field of your community. The event itself caused disruption for members of this community. We gathered to talk about this and all the related issues that have not been mentioned, but we talked about all of it. And Karen was right. There were moments when I knew that it wasn't yet all out. And I said, no, what would you like known about what you were looking for when you chose to act? What did you most need? What are you feeling? And I asked people to listen and reflect what they understood that was being said. And when it was done, a plan came forwards. And I would like to suggest it's a plan that will be worked through over time with the support of the board, the Right Relations team, members and friends in this community. And you will all, it is my hope, you will all learn and experience what being truly heard feels like. I had an experience in a training a number of years ago. There was a man living in a wheelchair, and I won't forget this moment. I partnered up with him in one of the practices of listening, just beginning. And I heard what he had to say. It was difficult for him to communicate, but I heard what his meaning was. And in the end, he said to me, I've never known what it was like to have someone hear me. I don't think any of us really know what it's like to have someone hear us. And at its core, when we really finally understand the meaning someone is sharing with us, that meaning and being heard is what empathy really feels like. We can say we're compassionate, but to actually be compassionate, we need to be able to hear not fix it, not tell them they're gonna be okay, not question, just listen. So I encourage you to encounter someone, if you have not been in one of the trainings that I've offered, to reach out and ask to be heard by someone who has, and then offer to hear that person who's just heard you. Get your own experience. Train each other. And know that this is radical work. And it doesn't come easy, as Gary and Karen have indicated. In order for change to occur in community, a community must first recognize there's a problem. You've done that. First Unitarian of Cincinnati leadership and members are taking steps towards recognizing that conflict is a part of this community's life. How many people in this room have experienced conflict in the last week? How many of you out there? In the last month? In your family? At work? In community? With a person that you walk down the street past? It happens everywhere. How many of us are human? It's part of our human experience. We are going to engage with difficult conversations about decisions that we have made. We'll listen to one another's feelings and needs, dive deeply together towards understanding how we arrived at this moment of conflict, at this set of moments of conflict. We recognize our feelings and needs as individuals, as a community, and then, once it's all come out, we get to decide, what are we going to do next? For all these reasons and more, I have been brought to build a capacity for addressing conflict. It's not for me to do. This is your work. These past 2 days, this weekend, community members in your community have explored the Restorative Circles process. They're learning new tools to address conflict openly and honestly, with compassion and empathy for one another. I invite you to lean into one another with these new listening skills. Step towards conflict as they arise and watch. Watch yourselves co-create the beloved community that you wish to belong to. And I'd like to end with a Rumi poem. Out beyond ideas of right doing and wrong doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When a soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. Blessed be.
Bum bum ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba dee da dee bum bum ba doo da dee bum bum ba doo da dee bum bum ba doo da dee. Listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the water. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead are not under the earth. They are in the rustling trees, they are in the groaning woods, they are in the crying grass, they are in the moaning rocks. The dead are not under the earth. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead have a pact with the living. They are in the woman's breast, they are in the wailing child. They are with us in our homes, they are with us in this crowd. The dead have a pact with the living. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters.
It's now time for joys and sorrows, joys and concerns, joys and sorrows in my congregation. What I would like to invite you to do this morning is, as you usually do, come up and choose a stone to place into the water, representing whatever joy or concern you have. And Barbara and I are holding the microphones. For those of you joining us virtually, I invite you to put a word in the chat, and I've asked Rosie to share those with us here. When you come up, if you would like, choose one word, a reflection of what you've experienced this morning, something you're bringing with you today. One word, and let us share with each other our joys and concerns. Please come forwards.
Beloved,
Unity.
Love.
Future.
Healing.
Listen.
Listening.
healing,
Hope.
Foundation.
community,
Work. Compassion.
Community.
Grace.
beauty,
Trust. Opportunity.
Hope. Respect.
Whoosh. Feeling blessed.
New beginnings.
Open.
Harmonies.
Spirit.
Love.
Gratitude.
Understanding.
Hope. Optimism.
Harmony. Harmony.
Equality.
Family.
Gratitude.
Please stand as you are willing and able to join us in the hymn, We Would Be One. We will sing only the first verse. The words appear on the screen.
This is a poem by E.E. Cummings, and you've heard it before, if I can make it through it without tears. I carry you in my heart. I carry your heart with me. I'm never without it. Anywhere I go, you, my dear. Anywhere I go, you go, my dear, and whatever is done by only me is your doing, my darling. I fear no fate, for you are my fate, my sweetheart. I want no world, for beautiful you are, my world, my true. It is you, whatever a moon has always meant, and whatever a sun will always sing to you. Here's the deepest secret nobody knows. Here is the root of the root, and the bud of the bud, and the sky of the tree called life, which grows higher than soul can hope or mind can hide. And this is the wonder that's keeping the stars apart. I carry you in my heart. I carry your heart.
Before we extinguish the chalice, We'd like to say a heartfelt thank you to Sarah Elizabeth Anderson for her time with us. This is a gift from the board, from the Right Relations Committee, and from all of us who have participated in her training. Sarah Elizabeth Anderson, you believed in us. You helped us learn how to listen deeply to one another's needs, hearts, intents, and impacts. Through you, Rumi spoke to us. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Thank you. Please join me here in the sanctuary and at home in reading the words to extinguish our chalice that appear on your screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Everyone, please feel free to join in. You know the words. You can play the game, you can act out the part, though you know it wasn't written for you. Tell me, how can you stand there with your broken heart, ashamed of playing the fool? One thing can lead to another. It doesn't take any sacrifice. Oh, father and mother, sister and brother, if it feels nice, don't think twice and just shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna work out fine if you only will. Do as I say, yeah. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna be much better if you only will. You can run, but you cannot hide. This is widely known. What you gonna do with your foolish pride when you're all by yourself alone? Once you tell somebody the way that you feel, you can feel it beginning to ease. I guess it's true what they say about the squeaky wheel, always getting the grease. Better to shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. I know things are gonna be just fine if you only will. What I'd like to do to you is just shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna be much better if you only will. the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. We see clouds, clouds sometimes in the sky. Oh, we see clouds, but they rain on down. Oh, I said rain, love, 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 and sunshine. Oh, I said rain, I said rain, come down, love. I said rain, love, 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 and sunshine. Oh yeah, oh yeah, rain on down, love and sunshine. Rain, love, 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 and sunshine. Oh, I said rain, love, 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 and sunshine. Oh, yeah. Great job, everyone.